Good day, everyone, and thank you for viewing the Permissions Manager 21.4 release Q&A session. I'm Brian Lapointe, Vice President Sales for Fastman, and pleased to be joined by David Henshar, the VP of Products for Fastman. Myself and David have been working in the OpenText ecosystem for many years and always open to sharing best practices and helping customers increase their information integrity. So, without further ado, let's get started. You know, it's common knowledge that Permissions Manager is the flagship solution for Fastman and a very popular add-on for the Content Suite platform and extended ECM deployments. In fact, it's used by some of the most prominent Content Suite platform users in the installed base. As a consistent theme, we find our customers focused on using the Content Suite platform as this single point of truth for all their unstructured content. And they tell me that managing access and permissions is the #1 incident type that they come across with any ECM platform, and that Permissions Manager really reduces their administrative burden by 2 and even 3x. Not only that, they're able to deliver more value and information integrity to their business users because the tools keep their Content Suite system healthy and relevant. So this is a nice thought to keep top of mind for today's Q&A session. Also, Fastman's been very busy innovating Permissions Manager in 2021 with a very consistent quarterly release schedule. For example, we've added the capability to update permissions on large collections in business workspaces, added support to manage role-based access, improved a lot of cloud support, including containerization deployments, added business administrator support, and many smart UI improvements too. Finally, I'd like to speak briefly about Permissions Manager's value, specifically for OT cloud users or those looking to go to the OT cloud or any cloud for that matter. Over the past several months and quarterly releases, Fastman continues to enhance Permissions Manager driven by customer feedback in a way useful for cloud deployments. As customers prefer to, essentially relinquish the core IT functions to their service providers, their cloud service providers, that is, we're finding the delineation where business needs more self-service to the application itself, and Fastman Permissions Manager can deliver this value. We're seeing it in areas such as the following, right? Streamlining user onboarding and the granting of access is one area they come to us for. Also, ensuring that the security model is compliant with their organizational policy. Or essentially allowing configuration of business settings by business administrators related to access in a way that doesn't require sysadmin access. Or again, advanced support for working with roles on business workspaces. And finally, just alleviating that need for having to create extra or ad hoc reports when you can just get at the information out of the application directly. So this is a good time to transition to David for a look at a few new Permissions Manager capabilities. Dave, would you like to provide your opinion on the roadmap for our cloud deployment recently?
Yeah, happy to, Brian. So I think, in short, if I boil it down to 2 principles, number one, we're looking to be as technology agnostic as we possibly can. We understand customers are deploying to cloud, and cloud means different things to different customers, be that private cloud, Azure, Google Cloud Compute, or OpenText, containerized and non-containerized. So we're very much focused on ensuring that for any customer with Permissions Manager already, or for those looking to implement OpenText, it does not matter what your cloud strategy looks like, you can work with our product. The other thing we're seeing, and the other core principle would be around, as Brian has mentioned, we're seeing an increased use of systems like Extended ECM for SAP, Extended ECM for Maximo, Salesforce, SuccessFactors, etc. So this release really has focused in a lot on providing the additional tools or filters and views for particularly those role-based applications, and ensuring that you can manage your access integrity.
Great. Thank you for that, Dave. Let's move along here a little bit here. So Dave, you were very busy this quarter, it seems, with this recent quarterly release, 21.4. Looks like there's been a focus on permissions filtering and search. Can you share your perspective?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Brian, a lot of work in the extended ECM space, roles and filters. In short, really allowing customers to cut through the noise when they're looking at permissions and really get to the heart of the matter when they're looking at security access and ensuring that their access policies retain their integrity.
Okay, great. Couple quick questions for you here, Dave. What version of Content Suite is this upgrade compatible with?
Good question, Brian. We go as far back as I think 16.2.8, and we're compatible from there forward all the way up to 21.4. So the absolute bleeding edge latest release from OpenText.
Perfect. And how does an end user go about requesting an upgrade?
Yeah, really simple, Brian. Email to support@fastman.com and we'll point you in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you for that. I just wanted to get that covered. And so let's kind of dive in a little bit here. So there's some new features that you've kind of rolled in there. Would you like to just give us a quick summary and kind of hit upon their value to the end users right here?
Yep. So Brian, as we're looking at here, we've got Permissions Manager operating in the OpenText Smart View above a workspace. We've added some additional filtering to allow people to filter by the roles on the workspace. So when you're looking at a rather large set of workspaces or a large template for the workspaces, this really gives you the ability to narrow in on the security or the access rights of particular roles. As we'll see on the next slide, we've also got the ability to, with those filters, not just filter on the roles that are present on the workspace, but we can also actually use free text roles and enter a role name or select roles off the template workspaces themselves. And this actually gives us the ability, for example, to filter roles above a collection of workspaces. So now we can move beyond looking at security on a particular instance of a workspace and actually look at the security and the consistency of permissions across a batch of workspaces or a collection of workspaces, for example, by type, for example, by functional location, if we're talking in an SAP and plant maintenance world, really based upon however you want to slice up your actual workspaces. I think you skipped one there, Brian, but
corrected it.
Yep. So we've also, in a similar vein, we're finding customers also want to boil down to situations as we move into this XECM world and roles and people belonging to roles. People are moving away from applying permissions at a user level. So rather than actually allocating a user to the permissions directly, people really want to be using, or customers really want to be using, a group-based or a role-based model. These filters now give us really quickly the ability to say, I only want to see the permissions entries that are user-based. So really allows customers to focus in on potentially some cleanup that they may wish to do and identifying cases where they've got users who've been allocated and they need to remove.
Moving along.
We'll then progress on to our enhancements around search. So we've increased our search capability, Brian, with the ability to look at searching for not just permissions that are allocated to a particular role or a particular user, but also extend our search capability to say, I want to find anything that matches a particular security model, irrespective of who the user or the group is that is assigned. So rather than having to narrow in on a particular person or a particular group, we can now ask the question, for example, show me everything where a user is assigned to the access. I don't care who the user is, but they have, for example, edit permissions, because that would be a clear indication of somebody who's been given elevated privileges and we may not know who they are. So again, we've extended our features to help customers really deal with auditing and reviewing their security, and then going through and doing a cleanup where perhaps elevated access exists or they're not compliant with their preferred security model.
Nice, perfect.
Probably the piece de resistance in this release. Again, coming back to that concept of users and moving away from users being allocated to groups and roles, we've added some features that when we're editing permissions, we'll provide effectively a recommendation where potentially there is a user or a group on the access rights that is redundant because there is another group or another role that provides the equivalent level of access or higher. So this is really giving customers an ability to see where they've got entries in their access controls that are essentially not actually adding any value and probably actually paint a more complicated picture than is necessary. And you can also eke out a few performance gains here by actually reducing the list to just those that are required. So really, this is a tool to help people, help the person who's reviewing permissions make an educated decision about whether somebody is present but really doesn't need to be.
Great. Thank you for all that, Dave. That's some nice functionality that you added in for this quarterly release. And hopefully folks can take advantage of that and look forward to the next capabilities you start adding in. Hey, just before we wrap this up, I kind of like to highlight, Fastman's been a OpenText Content Suite services partner with OpenText since like 2006. And one of the things we do is we consult, but also offer a wonderful training class on Permissions Manager. And those are some of the learning topics that we have displayed right there. It's a very popular, cost-effective class. You can see there's a price up there per class. We've run several of these this year, and it's a great boot camp to kind of for you and your team to not only just learn how to use Permissions Manager, but how to basically operate your CIS model that you have implemented too. So, reach out to us if you're interested in any of the training here. Always happy to engage with our clients in this manner. And with that said, David, thank you once again for coming on to this Q&A session here. I think this was great for everyone. And we look forward to speaking to the OpenText community, Permissions Manager users in days to come. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day now.
Thank you.